Now let's talk about food security. Across the globe, it is at a crisis point, according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. It is meeting in Rome today and will be discussing the worsening situation in Gaza and the impact of the war in Ukraine and what these two huge events are doing in terms of food security. Well, I'm joined by Nate Blum, Chief Executive of the cereals company Sorghum United, but also on the Committee on World Food Security. Good to have you on the programme. We see you're in Rome for this event. We're assuming the wars in Gaza and Ukraine will dominate, will they?
Sally, I'm very glad to be here, and I think you're absolutely right, as they should. And I should clarify, I am on a private sector advisory committee to that World Food Security Committee. But these issues are top of mind. The situation in Gaza is tragic. The situation in Ukraine has caused, in addition to the pandemic, global food system supply issues around the world. And these are top of mind and very pressing.
So just talk us through what you will likely discuss, because I mean your business is all about provision of cereal to your clients. You know, obviously the war in Ukraine has had a huge impact, not just on Ukraine, but on economies across Europe, where we've seen farmers staging protests for much of this year because of the impact of all the grain flooding into places such as Poland.
Well, what we'll discuss and advocate for as members of Sorghum United on this committee really is the diversification of grains within our global food systems. And you talk about gluts of grain of certain types. And part of the problem there is that we're globally very reliant upon only a few grains, corn, wheat, rice, etc. And what we believe is that there's room for other grains, which are very healthy and environmentally sustainable. And those are sorghum and millets, which are grains that have been largely forgotten and largely left out of our global food systems, leading to a lack of diversification, not only in cropping systems, but also in markets and opportunities for consumers. And we believe that by diversifying our basket, so to speak, that we can mitigate some of those issues.
To what extent will the climate crisis be discussed in Rome today?
Well, I hope quite extensively, actually. You know, I travel all over the world. Sorghum United is a global organization that advocates for these grains. And I've been to many places where corn, for example, or maize, depending on where you're living, no longer makes a lot of sense because of the changing climate. Warmer temperatures, inconsistent rains. These grains that are more reliant upon water and things like that just simply don't work in many regions anymore. And that's not to say that they're wholly bad. They're not. We love these other grains. We need all of them. But sorghum and millets play an important role in regions that are very arid and that are struggling with climate change, like in the Mediterranean basin, where I'm speaking to you from now, which is basically the bullseye for the warming climate, unfortunately. So absolutely, I think that those topics will be top of mind. And these are topics that we're willing to advocate for these additional grains to strengthen the food systems.
To what extent will this event in Rome make a difference, do you think?
I think any time that we can have a chance to come together and talk, I think that makes a difference. And I say that because, really a lot of these things happen through education. For example, at Sorghum United, one of our top jobs is to advocate for these grains. And what we do is we publish a series of children's books called the Sorghum Squad in order to help consumers understand that these are options for consumers to look at. Consumers can't request a grain if they don't know that it exists, right? So to what extent will these conversations over the next few days here in Rome make a difference? Well, I'm a bit of an optimist, Sally. I'd like to think that anytime we have a chance to come together to have conversations, that they do make a difference.
Okay, we're out of time, I'm told, which is a shame. But thank you, Nate, for joining us live from Rome. Nate Blum there.